crossing the circle Y. Oh,
Okay, good morning, Simeon. Waiting.
Good morning, Rav.
We're
So
just waiting.
Your son's giving this year this morning, yes?
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah.
joke.
And you're giving the shear. Okay.
I want to.
Okay, good.
I mean, like, you could be AFK and make a plane instead of JFK.
We're just waiting for people to make their way in here, Simeon. So we're probably gonna wait 2 or 3 more minutes. People are just davening, just finished.
No, Rav. You send them all to the office to get an admit slip. That's
Right.
it.
I need a late pass to come in the shirt. Yeah, late pass. Yeah. Hello, Shlomo. Good morning. Steve, how are you?
Having a party.
There's a bar mitzvah a little later this morning. Rudensky making a bar mitzvah.
Oh, I'm gonna get that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Ali Rudensky.
Yeah. So it's later minion, even after the later one.
I look in the bulletin.
Okay, good. Good.
I go get something from the kitchen.
Sure, you find something.
Okay.
But not from the bar mitzvah, so we'll take it even as part of the bar mitzvah.
Lots of good food there.
There you go. See?
Yeah, but I can't take.
Yeah.
You think us something?
Sure. I mean,
You could also just go.
come with me later again. So I know that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I
Yeah.
was gonna ask it's gonna rain the next,
Yeah.
so Sukkot use is gonna be,
Low.
right. Can we take down decorations or everything is sort of, good until we're done?
It's funny to ask that here. I don't know how to put myself.
So I'll share something with you, Rav. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Now, okay. I was actually just telling Steve Keller was asking. We have I know maybe you don't have to deal with these problems in Florida, but over here there's a big storm coming through, so people are asking questions.
Yeah, I heard the news. Supposed to be big time.
Yeah.
When I was watching a few weeks ago the raid on Iran by the American B-2 bombers.
Yeah.
I felt compelled. I had to make a bracha. I had to make a bracha when I saw that. I used to have a friend, a Holocaust survivor, who is no longer with us, and I used to do business with him, and he had a small sefer on halacha, and whenever we would get together for business, he'd like to learn for a couple of minutes. And he once had a spin out on the Brooklyn Bridge, and he made a bracha, she'asa li nisim b'makom hazeh. He made such a bracha.
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to make a bracha, so I made the bracha, she'asa nisim lavosenu b'yomim hahem bazman hazeh.
Huh.
The Zman Hazeh is very important because it gives us the currency of the bracha.
Right.
You know, now part of the bracha.
Right. Right. I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. These are interesting times we're going through right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting.
The Chinese
Very
curse,
interesting.
which apparently isn't true that it's a Chinese curse. You should live in interesting times.
That's right.
Apparently, it's not true.
Good morning,
true.
Tommy.
But it doesn't address the decorations.
Doesn't
Boy,
address it.
Tommy,
Let's say that.
you must be sitting in the sukkah now, right?
Yeah, not exactly. we're we're in the library down here. So yeah, so Steve, the he doesn't talk about the decor. They didn't mention the
I lost
decorations.
him.
Decorations are, you know, it's like the same thing. If you're worried that they're gonna go flying away and they're gonna hit something, they're gonna whatever, then I would say take it down. But otherwise,
I lost you, Tommy.
they're hooked to the mitzvah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's get going here. So we are gonna our goal today. We're in Simon Reish Ayin Vav. We last time finished Sif Dalid, which discussed the nair that was lit and what happens if a non-Jew adds oil. Must I stop benefiting from the lamp where once the oil that was originally there has burned through? And when we talked about some of these. We talked about that whole topic. Now we're going to finish the simon today. That's the goal. Whenever we finish it, then we'll stop for today, and we'll do Reish Ayin Zayin starting with next week, which is about Gram Kibui, which again every topic here is very interesting and quite relevant. Right, exactly. So apparently it's but also it's Cholamoid Sukkot. It's a little bit of a later start. So let's we'll do Hay, which will take us a little bit of time, and then we'll stop. Okay. So let's read the Shulchan Aruch here. Okay, he says here, "Ba'aratzos karos muter le'eno Yehudi la'asos medura b'shvil haktanim." And we read this at the very last time, but we're gonna read this part so we can understand it.
What's the one? Where are you?
Simon Reish Ayin Vav Sif Hey.
Sif Hey. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
ba'aratzos karos muter le'eno Yehudi la'asos medura b'shvil haktanim. In cold lands, it is permissible for a non-Jew to make a medura, to make a fire for ktanim, for minors. Umutarim hagdolim lischamimbo, and then as a result, because it was lit for the kids, the grown-ups, the adults that are there, are permitted to warm themselves up by that fire. Let's take a look at Lamed Ches in the Mishnah Berurah. Okay. He says here, "Lasos medura v'hu adin lahasik tanur beis hachoref." What was our good translation for beis hachoref? It's like what was that?
I said old house.
Right. Well, I think it's a euphemism. It's the winter house, but it's like the place where you go to warm yourself up. There was a furnace there. It was not a medura is like you would think of a fire that's like I would almost think of a fireplace. Like a medura is like a bonfire. Here, it's probably something where maybe underneath there's a system where it then warms the house up above. We here in the United States in this time we don't live with such a concept of tanur beis hachoref. Our whole house is a tanur beis hachoref. We have heating systems that warm the rest of the house, except for those of you down in Florida. I don't even know if you need heaters down there, but. So it's permissible to have the non-Jew come in and as it were, light the furnace, okay, which warms the house. Mamites umutarim hagadolim wrote to Lomar. What he wants to say here is, kevan da'ikar nasa b'shvil haktanim, since this was essentially done to warm the children up. That was the reason behind the lighting. When the non-Jew went to go light the fire to warm the house up, he did it because he knows that there are kids in the house, and the kids are not able to handle the the extreme weather as well as adults can. So they light it for the kids. As we described in Sif Aleph, that the non-Jew light the Medura over there, and there were two opinions, about that was just for lighting a fire. We said that it's mutter l'chol Yisrael yishtamish la'oro, right? If they light it for a chole, right? They light it for a chole Yisrael, even if it's a chole she'ein bo sakana, there's not in danger, right? Or as the Ramah said, olet tzorech ketanim. Dehu kechol she'ein bo sakana. We said before Stefalov that ketanim are considered like a chol she'ein bo sakana, and therefore then it said over there Stefalov, then it's mutter for gedolim to for the adults to then benefit from this. Okay.
So I don't understand this distinction between when it's okay and when it's not okay. When someone is lighting a fire for you cannot light fire for you.
So the easiest case is that if there's ever a chole, a person that is ill, then it is permissible for a non-Jew to light a fire, to do, let's say there's a chole who's very cold, right? They need warmth. They're really suffering. They're not in danger of dying, chas v'shalom, right? But they're really sick. They're shivering. So the non-Jew is allowed to to light the fire that warms up the room, warms up the house.
Non-Jew light a fire.
That's what it seems. Yes, because the person's sick. If you're just uncomfortable, that's different. We're not talking about uncomfortable, right? So the Ramah points out that ketanim, children, are considered like a chol she'ein bo sakana. So if kids are freezing, we don't have to wait until they're sick and they're running a fever and if they're shivering, they're very cold, they're already like a chol she'ein bo sakana. That's the halachic understanding of minors.
So for the pikuach nefesh, it's not okay for the Jew to light it for the chol?
No, if it's pikuach nefesh, of course the Jew could light it. Here it's ein bo sakana. They're sick but not in danger, right? Then the non-Jew needs to be involved.
You probably want to get the non-Jew to do it before.
No, if you have the choice, I would say.
Sure, but once it's yesh bo sakana, then all bets are off. Yeah. Now let's finish what the Mishnah Berurah here says. Oh, sorry, Simeon. Yes, what do you want to add?
By the way, if there's a sakanas nefashos, then you could rock and roll.
Correct. By the way, we'll see when we get there, which is many simanim away. But when you're in a situation of a chol sheyesh bo sakana, there's a mandate even for sort of the rabbi to be the one himself to break it in Hilchot Shabbat. And to I don't know if you remember, was it a Rosh Hashanah here this year? Was it Rosh Hashanah or was it It was a Shabbos. Maybe it wasn't Rosh Hashanah. It was Shabbos before two Shabbases before Rosh Hashanah, and someone in the women's section took a little tumble in the middle of Amida in the main shul. I didn't know what happens. Suddenly there was a ruckus suddenly. And it was the middle of Shmona Esrei. So my feet are together. I'm davening, and suddenly we hear, somebody clearly fell. I thought, I don't know what happened. Did somebody faint, pass out? Did we have to call the ambulance? Whatever. So I actually myself, I walked off the bima while I was in the middle of Shmona Esrei. Okay, and then I saw that the person was getting attention. Also, was helped back up. So this person is not in grave danger, obviously, immediately. So I stopped wherever I was. I was by the Shulchan at that point. So I stopped and I continued my Shmona Esrei from there. But even if it's a yesh bo sakana or a suffix sakana, there's even the Gadol B'Shem Yisrael is supposed to get involved to show everybody that pikuach nefesh is docha everything. Okay.
Rav. In an earlier section of the Mishnah Berurah, when I was learning with Steve Keller, the verbiage that is used there is if somebody is not feeling well and he runs around looking for a doctor or looking for a rabbi to give him permission to do something, he says this. He says, Chasidus shel shtus.
Right, correct.
And I've learned 5 of the 6 volumes, and I never saw that word used any other time.
There you go. Yeah, no, it's being a pious fool, that's for sure.
So my question here is, why is he prohibited if the two of them are together? If the kid is in the room and the room is cold, he can make the fire. What's he supposed to do? Run out of the room?
The adult? So, okay. So, let's finish this, Mr. Brewer, and I'm going to address directly your question, because the second part here is helpful to see the whole picture.
Okay.
Right. So the Mishnah Berurah here says, "Avalim nasa b'shvil shneihen biyachad." If, let's say, the non-Jew lights the fire for both the children in the house and the adults, he has it in mind. I want to light the furnace for everybody. So then, postek hashulchan aruch lekaman b'simin shin chafei sivav the osir. Then the Shulchan Aruch passes later on in Hilchot Shabbat.
Yeah.
It's no good.
But
Now,
you know that he's thinking.
so that's no good. So yeah, I'm going to explain that. Hold on 1 second. So by the way, in Shin Chafei over there, this is the different case. By the way, there it says in Shin Chafei Sivav. I turn my Mishnah Berurah over there. Im liket v'tzad b'shvil Yisrael. The halacha is not about fires. It's about tzad. I don't know what tzad is. That's when you trap an animal. So you're trapping an animal. If you're trapping an animal, if you trap an animal, so you have a non-Jew who collects and traps an animal. Obishvil Yisrael ve'enam Yehudim, right? So, or he traps the animal for a Jew and a non-Jew, for a joint use. Tzarech lahamtin la'erev b'chdei sheyasu. Halacha over there is you have to wait until after the time it would take you to trap the animal if it were after Shabbos, which shows you're not supposed to benefit from it on Shabbos. So here you have a double, a malacha that's being done for a Jew and a non-Jew, and then it's no good. Even though partly it's for a non-Jew, but because also for a Jew, it's no good. So now this says
without the guy cooking it.
Right, man.
That's the issue. I mean, what he's saying, he's putting it aside for him to eat later. That's no good.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's a double benefit. So that's no good. So here's the important part. It's all about knowing what the fire is, what the malacha is done for, or who it's done for. I should be more specific. If it is done for a non-Jew, or a category, if it's done for a non-Jew, or if it's done for a category of Jew that is permissible, like chole, then anyone can benefit from the fire, because the malacha wasn't done for anyone who can't benefit from that malacha. If the malacha is done even partly for those who are not permitted to benefit, then it is not permissible to benefit from it at all. Now, you'll ask the question, as you did over here, like, how is it that you can know? How can you know if it's for the kids and the adults? How do you know when the person came in to light the furnace or whatever? How do we know what he's thinking? So right there, Hashem bochen kleot valev, right? We do the best we can to ascertain that information. Obviously, that's a challenge in the Metzias of knowing, and maybe that's why maybe it's better as the non-Jew is being summoned or is there to ask them specifically to do it for the child, right? The child is cold. Can you warm the house up for the child? At least giving them sort of a kavana to take with them to the furnace when they light the flame.
So if he does it for both, and they figure out he's done it for both, can the Tanim benefit from it also?
I think the answer is yes.
Right, because originally for the Ketanim is
because why? Otherwise, for the Ketanim, we could then go back to the non-Jew and say, "Can you light a new fire for the Ketanim?" Meaning, I would think that the adult can't benefit. Right. If it was lit for the child, though, then the adult can also enjoy the warmth that comes as a result. Okay. Now let's go to the text back up on top in the Shulchan Aruch. Vafilu. So second to last line for me. Vafilu bishvil hagdolim mutar im hakor gadol shehakol cholim eitzel hakor. And he says that you could even have an anju light the fire for adults if it's permissible if the cold is so great, because everyone is once it gets too cold, everyone is considered a sick person with regards to cold. Okay, now this is of course going to also have some definitional problems, So we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at mem in the Mishnah Berurah. Mutter, okay. It's mutter if it's very cold. Rotze lomar, afil lomar befeirush b'Shabbos lahasik. What he's trying to be clear, Mishnah Berurah is clarifying. He means that it gets to the point where it's cold enough where I could go over to a non-Jew befeirush and ask them, "Can you please turn the heat on in here?" Right? Not again, the hinting business is not such a good business to be in. Okay, the hinting business is not really going to help you that much. I know that that's against and keneged what you see sometimes. But here you can go ahead explicitly. Please turn on the heat. I'm freezing. Okay, Mem Aleph. What is Gadol? What is very cold? What is a great cold? The belav hache ein derech hagdolim hitzar kol kach. Well, I know what it's not, because I don't have. But it's not. If it wasn't very cold, adults could handle it. It's not. They're not mitztaer. They're not. It's the word that we talk about on Sukkot. When it rains, you're mitztaer. You're uncomfortable. So when the adults are generally not so uncomfortable, unless it's very cold. That's how I know. If I'm really uncomfortable, I start putting on 1, 2, 3, 4 layers, and I'm still shivering. Then maybe it's time that I have them turn the heat on. Okay, let's take a look at Mem Gimel. Sorry, I skipped Mem Beis, and then we'll take a look at Mem Gimel. And then I want to go back to one of my comments here in the extra, in my edition. Okay, because it talks about what is the shiur of Kor Gadol. Okay, what's the temperature? What's the definition of this? Okay, we'll come back to that. Mem Beis Shakol Cholim. Mikol Makom. Nevertheless, lahasik achar mincha b'Shabbos sheyehei lemotzai Shabbos. Awesome. It's mincha time. Mincha time. Talk about an hour and a half before Shabbos is out. If you're going to ask the non-Jew to turn the furnace on. And also, this may be a little bit different than our situation. I don't know how quickly their houses heated up. Bismana, Mishnah Berurah, right? When they turned on the Beit Hanur Beis HaChoref, how quickly did it truly warm the place up? Okay, so because today, if you turn the heat on in our houses, you can start to get. Hey, don't play with that, please. Because you can start to get some heat pretty quickly today. You turn the heat kicks on in your house. You stand right next to the vent. You can start to feel some warmth pretty quickly. It doesn't take very much to get the whole house up a few degrees. But I'm not so sure that was the case. So he says that mincha time on Shabbos to warm up the house for Motzei Shabbos, because finally it'll be warm Motzei Shabbos. That's awesome, because you're doing a malacha for today for the next day. It's not even going to be a Shabbos benefit. And then after Shabbos, you'll do it yourself. And you'll wait. You'll put an extra jacket on for the hour that it takes to warm up. But basically, if you're not going to get the benefit even on Shabbos, and you're just asking the non-Jew to do it so that after Shabbos it's warm, that's not okay. He explains, look, at the end of the day, you probably asked the guy to warm your house up in the morning. Right? Again, see, when you're talking about a Tanur Beis HaChoref, it's like you put all the wood in there, you light it, and it burns. And then once it burns out, the heat goes off. So again, it's not like our situation, today. But so you already warmed the house up earlier today. So yeah, now it's cooled down as the day goes on and the heat dissipates. So it's not so cold. It's not so cold at mincha time, but you're worried that tonight, overnight, it's going to be freezing. So I call the guy over. Can you turn it on now? I don't want it to be so cold when I go to bed tonight. Answer is no. You'll turn it on before you go to bed, and you'll deal with it after Shabbos. So you have to start. The non-Jew is like, my job is to come in and always light the fire whenever it's cold in your house. So he comes in at mincha time. It's almost over. Shabbos is almost over. You got to tell him, no. Just can you wait till after, Tzeis HaKochav, after the stars come out? We'll come back in an hour. We call makom hakol. This is the most important line. Hakol talui lefi hakor lefi beis hachoref. Right. Some beis hachorefs are, more efficient, and you can get the heat right now, and you can benefit right now. Maybe you need to benefit right now, anyways. So it all depends on the temperature. How cold is it? How fast can you things heat up? It's all dependent on the metzius of the situation.
It's cold in Poland.
Right, correct, exactly. Mem Gimel, Eitzel Hakor, right? We are all sick when it comes to considered sick when it comes to the cold. Now, but you need to do everything you can to not do things on Shabbos. So what do you need to do before Shabbos? The weather is it's January in Warsaw. Okay, it's not like it's gonna be beach weather. He says you need to prepare from before Shabbos the pichamim, the coals, right? Whatever your fuel is for the fire, so that it should be ready on Shabbos for the non-Jew. You can't start to go and here I'm going to fetch for you this, or tell him to do an extra step. Here, now go over here and collect the wood and go. No, everything that can be done before Shabbos should be done before Shabbos. So again, it's January, it's Poland. What do you think? You're like, you should be ready for this situation. It's realistic that you might need something to help you. It's not mutter for a Jew to move muktzah for sticks and stones and eitzim avanim ba'afar. So we're talking about eitzim here, probably about wood, or in terms of a fuel. You're not allowed to just go to the yard and go to the shuk and collect wood that then you're going to use as a fuel for the fire. That's moving. That is muktzah. So you need to prepare that from beforehand. Put it in the tanur beis hachoref, so it's near with the furnace, and then the non-Jew comes to light it. He'll light it. And again, in these land, and we'll get to the Aruch HaShulchan in a moment. He talks tachlis, in terms of like what months of the year. Like you just need to be ready. Like it's not. We take it probably for granted because in our homes the heat just kicks on. Right when it gets to the temperature, right? They had to ask somebody. They didn't have an automatic. The heat goes on, so you have to always be ready. Okay, now I want to look at my extra comments here in my edition, in the Dirshu edition. Okay, and then actually, he gives away what the Aruch HaShulchan says. So I'm actually going to. Hashir shel kor gadol. Okay, this is my extra comments number 52. So I know Tommy, you have that edition. So what is the shear of kor gadol, of very cold? So kasav b'shelos uchuvos or letzion. So it's written in the shelos chuvos of or letzion. Shu keshehamayim shebachutz kofim. It's when the water outside the house starts to kofim, like literally means like to congeal. I think what he means is it's starting to freeze. Oh, that like how do you say a freezer is mekafe or something like that, right? Yeah. So it's starting to it's starting to freeze. It's starting to turn to ice. That's quite cold, by the way. I don't know that most of us have our thermostat set that when the temperature is 32 degrees outside, which is probably much higher inside, that it will start to go on. I think that the heat in many of our houses are going to kick on when the outside temperature is 50. So it's a much lower threshold for when you're starting to ask. Okay.
Lousy landlord.
Right, right. O sheyesh kor ba'ofen shenikar sheyesh chashash sheyavo lidei choli. Or if it's clear that it's so cold that you could run the risk of becoming sick from just the temperature, right? Hypothermia, something you could get some illness. If you're running the risk even of that, then we're not obligated to literally put ourselves in danger over this. So those are two measuring sticks. Now, let's now. I'm going to pause here because he summarizes the Aruch HaShulchan, and I'd rather read their original. So I'm going to read the Aruch HaShulchan now, and now he gets very specific here, or he gets as specific as he feels it can be. Bibindinos Hatzponios, in the northern countries, Shekakor Godol Biamos Hachorif, where the cold is very, very. The Aruch HaShulchan. So you're not going to have it on your page. So just listen. So the cold is very, very great in the wintertime in these northern countries. Hadavar, he writes this very clearly. Hadavar pashut shakol cholim eitzel tzina gdola. He says, don't overthink it. We're all considered sick when it comes to really cold temperatures. Everybody, shakol, not just kids. All right, shakol cholim eitzel tzina gdola kazu. I love that he adds the word kazu, because I almost imagine him writing this parish, like what anything like those guys like this, like what we experience. He doesn't have to explain to them like you all understand where you live here. You all understand from life experience what cold means, right? Again, I love that he added the word kazu. Okay, v'omer le'eno Yehudi v'oseh. So you say it to a non-Jew. I'm freezing, and he should do it. It's perfectly mutter, he says. Um, and if the non-Jew is lighting it for themselves, sometimes they might have had a worker in the house. The worker's freezing. He goes over to the heater and I'm putting it on. I'm cold, right? So then, if he wants to light the tanner for himself, okay, then of course I could benefit from it.
Here we go.
V'hamachmir bazeh eino ela min hamatmihim. He says if the ones who are machmir about this, he looks at you and says, you are min hamatmihim. The people we wonder about, we really think about what's going on with you. Like something's wrong, right? He says if you're machmir,
it's not the whole of a bracha. It's what mean.
Right? He says I don't understand what's wrong with you. If you're gonna be machmir, something's wrong here.
Actually, you see like the whole of a bracha.
Right here, machmirim eino ela min hamatmihim. It's something that's it's a wonder. You're a wonder. That you want to be machmir on this one. Rabbeinu, he quotes from Rabbeinu Yerucham, who's one of the Rishonim, sort of one of the slightly later Rishonim, but the Rishon. Rabbeinu Yerucham Kostav Shor Rabbeinu Yaakov Meor Lines. That's the Meorlines. He's quoted. Yeah, in like France. Orleans. See, I'm not the. I don't know all my cities in France, but he's one of the Balei Tosos. Sometimes he's quoted in Tosos. Okay, different than the Re. There's the Re Meor lines, and then there's the Re. Okay, so there's Rabbeinu Yaakov Meor lines. Haya Omer, he writes in the Sefer that he quotes the Ma'aseh Shehaya, or what of the Balei Tosos did. Haya Omer le'eno Yehudi, he would tell a non-Jew, the Hadlik ha'esh will takno b'Shabbos. He would tell him explicitly to light a fire and to fix the fire on Shabbos if it was obviously very cold. The Hakol cholim eitzel tzina, says the Rabbeinu Yerucham. Of course, he said this because we're all considered sick people when it comes to cold. Omnam im ein hakor gadol b'shem o shebiyom hazeh ein hakor gadol. It's almost like if you wouldn't call this very cold. You know it when you feel it, right? It's not considered very cold. Or it's a day that just happens to be not very cold, even though, in Warsaw, it's usually freezing in February. Okay, a milder day. So you can't just, go based on reputation. So, and obviously, you can't tell the non-Jew to light the fire. If it's a little more a milder day in the winter, by winter standards, I'm not saying it's the summer again, but okay, so you'll act accordingly. And even if the non-Jew is like, I'll turn it on for him anyways, it's it's winter. He said, no, it's not so cold today. You'll say, no, it's okay. I'm good. Please don't do it for today. Aval, if you have kids in the house, even though you yourself can handle the cold of today because it's not so cold, if you have kids in the house, no, not a place to be machmir. You can tell them to light the fire for the kids. Kids have a lower threshold of when it's too cold. And so, therefore, they are considered thick vis-a-vis even the slightly less cold. As we said, then the adults can benefit as well from the.
Frozen again.
Oh, I thought somebody jumped in there. Oh, Tommy, you had something?
Yes, you were frozen.
Oh, no, but you didn't hear that?
No,
Oh,
we
that's
got frozen out.
how ironic that I was frozen in talking about this topic. What part did you? What was the last part that you heard, Simeon and Tommy? About the kids?
Yeah, you were able to light it for the kids,
Ah, okay.
and
So
then
basically,
after
it
that,
says
I'm
here,
afraid we lost you,
right,
Rob.
right. So you could light it for kids, and then the adults could benefit. It's not a problem because it was lit in a permissible way. It was lit for the children, and as long as the lighting was done in a permissible fashion, everyone else can now benefit.
Also, time to move to New York because it's cold in here.
That's right, man. It's time to move to New York. It's getting cold in Florida, Simeon. It's freezing down there here. Okay. Okay. So now
Down to 80 degrees.
that's right. Isaiah, break out the jacket. Okay. So he says in the little extra comments that the Aruch HaShulchan has now, he says, I'm Magen Avram. He says, go take a look at the Magen Avram. Sif Katan Tezvav. Shekasav. The ha'olim noagim heter gam kishe'ein hakor gadol ubishvil ha'gadolim. Says, people are being noag, and we're going to finish the Shulchan Aruch. He talks about this also a little bit. Says people are, taking advantage a little bit of this rule. They're noag heter even when it's not very cold, and they're lighting it even in the not very cold. They're lighting it for adults, not for kids. The sovrim the mutar shvus b'mitzdoyer. Because then when people say, why are you doing it? How can you do that? They say, well, it's only a derabanan, and we're uncomfortable.
No problem. It's right, or do like fire.
Well, but telling the non-Jew to do it is only derabanan. Now, here's the thing: the shvus b'mokom tzarech gadol. Well, let's see. Let's keep reading for a second. He says, sorry. Aval, Aruch HaShulchan says, Anan kaimalan, dirak shvus de shvus mutter, b'makom lahasik, sorry, b'mitztayr. He says, but in order to justify it, has to be two derabanans. I tell a non-Jew to do something that's only derabanan, wrong. We paskin, that's okay. And he says that all these people are justifying doing this on Shabbos when it's only a shvus b'makom tzorach, not a shvus to shvus. Lighting a fire is a doraisa, and me telling the non-Jew to do it is a derabanan, but really it has to be two derabanans. That's how we paskin later on in Shulchan Aruch. And he says, I don't know how people are justifying that they're doing this, right? The kashela achriya matai nikra hakor gadol umatai nikra eino gadol. And he says, and now the Aruch HaShulchan tells us honestly, it's really hard to know what's called cold and what's called very cold. He says, how do you know the difference? Is there a temperature? Is it when it's 32? You can handle it. Water starts melting. 31 or 33, I should say 33, and then 32. Go ahead and ask him. Come on, it can't be that. That can't be. It can't be so easy to define this. And so he says,
whose definition was when it's freezing?
That was the Or L'Tzion. That if it's outside, it's cold, it's ice already, then you're in good territory. Maybe what if it's 35 degrees? 35 degrees is not going to be outside. It's not going to freeze. It's not going to freeze. By the way, even if it's 32 degrees, you're not getting much ice out there. The water's not really changing much. It's the freezing point of water, but doesn't. That's the over so quickly. So he ends off by saying, "Uva bedino seinu." Now he says, "In our where we live, right, where we live, he lived in what's today known as Belarus." Okay, he says, "Beyarche Teves u'Shvat." In Teves and Shvat, it's 2 months. Akor Godol Meod. He doesn't say it's just. He doesn't say it's Kor Godol. He says Kor Godol Meod. It is extremely cold here.
It's different today.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he says, one sec. He says, "V'ef shar ligdor bazeh gedar baro." He says, "I'm just be honest with you. You can't put a definition on this thing. The low kol ha'anashim shavim bazeh." And by the way, everyone's different. Some people tolerate cold much more. You come to, you know, my house, our house, we keep it pretty cold because I actually don't like it when it's so warm inside, right?
Me neither.
But there are people who, like my brother-in-law and sister-in-law come to my house, right? They're freezing. They're like, "How do you live like this?" I couldn't live like I like the cold. I'm the Midwest. I like the cold. I like it. When we lived in the Heights and we couldn't control the heat, it was the heat is controlled by the super or whatever. It goes on whether you like it or not. It comes off when it goes off. They used to put the heat on. It's so high that, you know what? In the wintertime, we kept the window open in the coldest night. Even on the coldest nights, the window was open in our apartment in Washington Heights. Because whatever. So everyone's different. So you have to decide the situation using seichel, knowing the people in the house, knowing what the temperature is, knowing also what the temperature will be. Right? We live in a time when we also can ascertain information about the future temperature. Now, it's not perfect, but we can know. Oh boy, tonight the mercury is going to drop. So if it's Friday, 7 p.m. and I'm feeling cold already, and I know that tonight it's gonna be one of those very cold nights. It's gonna get even worse overnight. You could probably already now ask the non-Jew to come, and because you want to offset the heat, whatever. I remember a Rav telling a story. In Israel, it was one of these rare snowstorms that they had, probably in the Gush area, if I had to guess. And it was very cold, and I think it had knocked out the power. It was a storm, and it knocked out the power. I don't know. They probably don't have the power structure that is able to withstand winter storms that easily. So the power went out. It was a Friday night, and so it wasn't cold yet in the house. And so the shiloh was, could you have somebody turn the generator on, or maybe the power went out, or something happened, and it was going to get very cold. And the answer was, you could ask a non-Jew, or you could do something in an unusual way, like a machinoi, because it's probably harder to find a non-Jew in certain parts of Israel, and ask them or to do this because hakol cholim eitzel tzina, or kor kol cholim eitzel, kor gadol. If you can anticipate that it's going to get very cold, that it will be very, 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 very uncomfortable, and we're talking about chola territory. If you know it's coming, you can address it ahead of time. You don't have to wait until you're suffering to address the problem. Okay. Okay, good. Let's go back now.
That's not.
Or 52 for those of you. He talks about an interesting case which can happen. If you don't have this in front of you again, maybe Tommy, you do a number 52. What about the case of a person who lights the mizgan, the air conditioning? Okay, let's try the fan. Excuse me, the fan. On Erev Shabbos, Shabbos hishtane mezeg havir. Shabbos, the weather changes suddenly. Again, now with knowing forecasts, we might not be caught off guard as much. Suddenly it turns cold. V'niyeh kar. So it was not so cold, and now it's cold. Ve'eno yochol lisbol es hakor hamizgan. And you can't take the cold of the fan. it's already cold, and now you have more cold air sort of that's blowing. It's too much. You have no patience for it. So Kosov B'Shul Shechuvas Igros Moshe, or Moshe Feinstein writes. Okay, and now you see you met Rav Moshe Feinstein's granddaughter, right? The other day. Okay, so now we know who it is. You met the husband, right? Okay. Sheyachol Omar lenochri lechabos mizgan. You can tell the non-Jew to turn off the mizgan, like, turn off the fan, turn on no air conditioning. We don't need it. Kevin shakol chol emeitel tina. Why? I'm already cold now. Adding more cold. You can tell them turn off. That's actually much less of a problem. You know why? Because turning off the fan is only the rabbanon. Okay. And so derabanan, when you're uncomfortable, that's much more easy to swallow. Turning on a fire is a much more complicated situation.
How do you know to say it's midirabanan?
There's no fire. There's no fire. There's no fire involved in the situation. You're talking about electricity. You're turning off the fan. You're talking about you're turning it off. You're switching a switch from on to off, so that the fan doesn't blow. It's not. It's the air conditioner. The air conditioner is no fire. The air conditioner is there's freon. It's not. It is not a fire. So you're not even. And by the way, it's not even a kibui of a fire. Not even extinguishing a flame at all. So this is a completely rabbinic in nature. There's no the oraisa that unless you hold like Chazon Ish that holds that completing an electric circuit is bona, and even that you're not even completing it. You're actually breaking the circuit.
Also, there's the machine that runs. That's an engine that runs for air conditioning. You shut it off and shut off the engine.
But the thing that causes the fan to spin is not a fire.
It's a motor.
The motor is spinning, but
it's not fire, but it's motor. It's like a working machine.
Oh, for sure. I'm not saying it's a motor, but it's only the rabbanon. So, and there's another circumstance that it's that there's you have discomfort. So to tell a non-Jew to do something that's only rabbinically prohibited when there's discomfort is permissible.
I don't get that. I don't get that. We lost him again, Tommy. It's at his end.
Yeah, he's got a problem. The shul Wi-Fi is bad. Okay, it is what it is.
Yeah. So we proved for sure that the problem is and the shul's side of the equation.
Yes, it is. We know that for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Okay, anyways, basically, the shus b'makom tzorich gadol. It's permissible. And that's when he says here also, further in that comment, v'dafka b'bayis prati. This is what we're talking about a private house. Or where else am I going to go? It's 9:00 on a Friday night. Am I going to go crash by my Jewish neighbors? I don't know that's really such a nice thing to do. They want to go to sleep too, right?
Not my house.
Right, exactly. Not the Fensterheims. In the shul, ironically, here, you shouldn't. You know why? You go to the other shul. You're the one that open because there's always a breakaway shul somewhere. You go there. But if there's a lot of people in shul, but if it's going to cause you all to not daven with the tzibor, a few of the people are not going to daven with his minyan. You can tell the non-Jew, turn off the air conditioning. As we talked about previously, then it's permissible. All right, let's go back to the Shulchan Aruch here. Yes, Simi, go ahead. I see you have a question.
You see, Rob, we learned that if there's an issue that involves the Kehila, mutar lamar le'eno Yehudi. You could tell a non-Jew to correct it. If all the lights went off suddenly in the shul,
right?
Go out and call in the Nachri, and he could fix the.
That's right, because it's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah shel rabim.
However, we did learn we did learn the basic overriding concept that if you cannot do it
Yep.
on Shabbos, then you cannot ask a Nachri to do it for you.
Absolutely, that is the baseline starting point, and basically all we've been studying, is we've been studying all of the exceptions,
Yeah.
to that rule, right? But that rule, and now we are talking about all the exceptions to the rule, where you can get the non-Jew involved, the non-Jew gets involved himself. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Can't forget that rule. Very important. All right, let's finish the Shulchan Aruch now, where he ends with some criticism. Okay, because what more of a Jewish way to end than with criticism here? Okay, so the last line of the simon, up on top, he says, that okay, you can light it for adults if it was very, very cold. Okay, he ends by saying, not like those people who give themselves permission, who are no lagim heter, even though it is not very cold on that day. So he ends with a little bit of a shoch, acknowledging that people have taken this heter too far, right? That they are applying it not the way it should be. Now, knowing that's the case, and we also know the Magen Avraham said the same thing. We read that earlier. Now look what the Mishnah Berurah says about such people. Mem Daled. V'lo cha'osam v'chulei. He says, "Umikol makom, ein limchos bahem." You know what though? Don't go over to their face and say, "You can't do this. Stop doing this." Why? The mutav shiyu shogigim v'al mizidin. Better that they don't know that they're doing something wrong on purpose. That they're they don't realize that it's wrong, because everyone's no like heter on this one. So that's how they learned it from their family. That's how they saw their friends doing it. So they think it's fine. So they're shogeg. They're doing it. They're erring unwillfully. And if I tell them that they can't do this, and they're just going to continue doing it, which unfortunately sometimes is the case when these situations arise, now I've made them mazid. I've just raised the level of trouble they're in, halachically. So better to not say anything to them and let them be shogeg than rather be mazid, than be willfully erring. Now, that's obviously unless you know that they'll listen to you. If they're going to listen to you, of course you should say something. But if you also can know that they're not going to care about this, Baruch Hashem, that they are even, doing these mitzvahs and Shabbat, they're not going to listen to this part. So then you have to use your knowledge of the person and the situation to know if what should or shouldn't get involved. Memhei, last comment here of the Mishnah Berurah, and with this we will end. V'al kol ponim, and nevertheless, yizaharu shelo lomar lo b'Shabbos lahasik o lasos medura. Ela yiktzevu imo bekablona sheyasik lo kol yemos lachoref be'es sheyekar. So when the non-Jew comes and does this for us, you should be careful not to tell him to do it on Shabbos. You could avoid it. The less you could do on Shabbos, the better. So if I could avoid having to tell them explicitly on Shabbos, light the fire, light the furnace, right? But rather have an arrangement beforehand, because I know I live in Poland. I live in Radin. And I know it's always cold in December and January and February. I should have a kablanus with the non-Jew. He should be my hired contractor. Shiasik lo kol yemos lachoref. You come to my house all the time whenever it's cold, and you'll light the fire. You make sure that it's always a certain temperature in my house. Even on Tuesday, you'll come over, and your job is to light the fire. By the way, again, it's not as easy as it is today. Today, to light the
Tuesday, but can be like on Shabbat.
On anything. Well, I can't hire him for just things on Shabbos. That's the problem. I have to hire him for the job. His job is he is firelighter in my house. If that's a Wednesday, if it's a Saturday, it doesn't matter. His job is a firelighter. So if I hire him for such a thing in the winter, by the way, that's not a crazy. It's not such a crazy concept. Today it would be crazy. I'm going to hire you to come into my house and go to change the temperature. First of all, you could probably set the schedules now on your, your furnace to go on at a certain time. But even so, like in those days, they had to actually have the wood, still have to start the fire, make sure the fire caught, and it's working. It's not the craziest thing. They might say somebody, I'm gonna hire somebody out, hire somebody to do that job. So the non-Jewish neighbor came over. That was his job all the time, to make sure on the cold days to come over and make sure that my house was warm. Because then if he comes and lights the fire when the cold is not so great, maybe he did it because he was, he did it for himself, or he did it on his own, thinking, I feel bad for the Jew. He's probably freezing. I'm going to go over there. I didn't even know he slipped in the back door. I didn't even see him come in there. Right? Or whatever, he did it on his own. We said in Sif Aleph, if he does it on his own, even though I didn't want him to do it, I don't have to leave the house. Right? He said that in Sif Aleph, and then in Mishnah Berurah Yod Gimel, if you turn back, right? We said Im Asa Eino Yehudi Beis Yisrael Midato Eino Yisrael Tzarech Latzes Afal Bishanena Min HaNera Min HaMedura. So I don't want him to do it right now, but at least if he's going to do it when it's not so cold, it's cold but not so cold, at least he did it on his own accord. And while I should tell him if I have a chance to catch him and tell him don't, and he does it anyways, I could still stick around and enjoy the warmth.
But you have to tell him not to do
it. If I catch him in the act, but what if I'm over here? He goes into the Tanur Beis Lachor, which is somewhere, and he lights it. So I didn't know he was even lighting it. So then I can benefit from it. And if I tell him don't, and he says, it's cold in here, I'm doing it anyways, I don't care what you say, then I can still benefit. And yeah, that is there's anything else I wanted to add here before we close today? No, I think that was it. That's all I wanted to share. Okay, we'll stop. We'll stop here. The sheets are done. Yeah, you can leave it.
Rav,
yes.
Rav, could you define the word lahasik? I'm not familiar with it.
Lahasik is to fuel up.
I lost you again. I'm sorry. Lahasik.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
To light the fire. It's lahasik es hatanur, is to light the oven, to fuel it, basically. You're turning it off. You're turning on the fire.
I don't know if you were aware of this, but as a kid, I remember when Shabbos clocks came into being.
Right.
And my father, who was involved with time clocks, used to be able to get them, and they were something like $9 or $11, and everybody was coming to the house. My father should order